The movie business has just suffered the worst Halloween box office in over 30 years, causing many people who think seriously about Hollywood to laugh uproariously while burying their buttocks in the direction of Los Angeles and singing made-up song lyrics that rhyme with "Pharma is a glitch, you sleazy brother duckers." The box office tally showed that after releasing around 11 Halloween-themed movies for the October holiday at an overall production cost of about $300 million, industry leaders drew in enough money to buy a jumbo popcorn at the candy counter if the nice old man standing on line behind them gave them an extra nickel out of the goodness of his heart. But while Hollywood zillionaires have been openly dripping scorn on the values, lifestyles, religion, and patriotism of the American public for the last 30 years, that doesn't mean Americans are celebrating the industry's hilariously humiliating fall down a bottomless well of hilarious humiliation. Sure, there have been 1 or 2 or 500 nationwide fortnight-long parties at which burning effigies of Bob Iger are hung from trees while adults and children alike dance in circles beneath them, singing made-up lyrics that rhyme with "Burn, you supercilious niece of Split." But that's only because they wanted to melt chocolate and marshmallows for their s'mores, and a burning effigy of Bob Iger strung from a tree happened to be near at hand, as always. Meanwhile, in Los Angeles, studio executives are trying to solve the mysteriously puzzling conundrum-like enigma of why their latest films are not causing what used to be the movie-going public to leave their homes, where they're busy playing darts with the headshots of loudmouth actors. One studio executive, Hazer Schmendrick of Crapola Pictures, took time out to talk to a reporter while coming home to his third wife from his 14-year-old mistress's house before stopping off at his dealer on his way to a fundraiser for the Shout Your Abortion Foundation. Schmendrick said, quote, "I just can't figure out why the folks aren't showing up for our movies. We've given them homosexual propaganda for children, turned all their favorite franchises into socialist rants, denigrated masculinity, banned femininity, barred the depiction of white men as heroes, and cast the President of the United States as everything from a black lesbian to a saintly Islamist. We even made a movie about a 58-year-old girl boss who laps milk out of a saucer in order to debase herself in front of a 25-year-old man. I mean, we've tried everything. What the hell else does this audience want?" Unquote. Other executives said the poor Halloween box office may be due to competition from the World Series, or the government shutdown, or the fact that Halloween fell on a Friday this year, or maybe just that Americans are sick of giving money to tawdry jerkwads who hate them. But even as Hollywood tried to determine where they might have gone wrong, the industry was rocked by another scandal when bombshell actress Lefty Vavoom showed up at an elite gala wearing a shocking full-sleeved blouse and ankle-length skirt that revealed every inch of her modesty and restrained sexual behavior. As paparazzi snaps of the starlet's outfit appeared on front pages under red ink shock headlines, feminist critics reacted in rage. At the New York Times, a former newspaper, feminist columnist Banshee McScreamyface wrote, quote, "At a time when women in the workplace are facing disrespect for simply exercising their right to descend to the lowest levels of self-hating sexual degradation, how can we proclaim our feminist principles if our Hollywood role models strut around in non-see-through blouses that don't even expose their nipples? I don't want to seem old-fashioned, but we need a return to the good old days when Kanye West's girlfriends came to parties wearing nothing but a dog collar, proudly proclaiming the legacy of feminism, namely obsessive self-abuse and soulless immiseration," unquote. Trembling before the feminist blast no one else read, Hollywood moguls immediately signed a pledge to cast more black actors in roles that make no earthly sense and release another movie in which Nicole Kidman humiliates herself in the nude in time for her 60th birthday. If that doesn't win back the audience, nothing will. And let's hope nothing will. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is The Andrew Klavan Show. All right, the vast right-wing conspiracy known as Klavanon continues. As part of that conspiracy, I just wanted to let you know we have less than 2,000 DailyWire lifetime memberships remaining. Turns out having all access benefits for life with no renewals is something everyone wants. So here are your options. You could buy one while they're still available, or you could win mine. That's right. I have my very own lifetime membership to give away, and I made it ridiculously easy to enter. Download the free DailyWire Plus app in the App Store, open it, and tap follow under my picture. That's it. You're entered, and who knows, I could be calling you to give you my personal lifetime membership. But before any of that happens, you need to download the DailyWire Plus app and follow me inside it now to enter to win. So thank you to everyone, by the way, who showed up at the after the dark signing at the Cool Springs Barnes and Nobles outside of Nashville. It was a great event. There were hundreds of people there. It was really nice, and we had a chance to talk, and we signed books. And I will be doing that again in New York, the People's Republic of New York City, as we now know it, at the Mysterious Bookshop, which is the home of my publisher, Otto Penzler. He doesn't live in the bookshop, but it's where he works. The Mysterious Bookshop, it will be November 11th, 6 p.m., downtown Manhattan at 58 Warren Street. And if you're planning to buy the book for Christmas, and you should be, or you're planning somebody you want to give it to, or you haven't bought it yet, please buy it this week. It's probably our last chance to hit the lists, and I would love to do that for Otto's sake as well as my own. I promise you will like this book, and it would be really helpful. If you're going to buy it, go ahead and buy it now. And if you can drop by on November 11th, 6 p.m. at 58 Warren Street, the Mysterious Bookshop, I would love to see you and sign a book for you. Also, if you want to leave a comment, leave it anywhere you get the show, wherever you collect the show, even if it's just in your dreams. Just write it on your forehead, and we will receive it because we're watching you every minute. And if your comment is absolutely morally disgusting, we will read it on the air because, as you can probably already tell, That's how we roll. Today's comment comes from Fireside Stories 5714. I made a comment last week saying that socialism is where you make the money but somebody else spends it, and they call that slavery. And Fireside Stories says, I thought when you make the money but someone else spends it, they call it marriage. So that's a terrible thing to say, which is why we read it on the air. Let's get to today's episode, Electile Dysfunction. It's hard to believe, but the holidays are actually coming at us like a freight train, only faster. And you may be thinking, what can I do in the holidays? What can I give people? What can I give myself? What can I upgrade? All of the things that you want to do in the holidays. What should it be? Well, I can tell you, Boll & Branch is having their best sale of the year right now, 25% off everything on the site. If you've been thinking about upgrading your bedding, this is definitely the time. Even if you haven't, maybe you should. I'd start with their signature sheets if I were you. They've really nailed that sweet spot between being soft and breathable, which makes a huge difference for getting a good night's sleep. The cool thing is they actually get softer every time you wash them. This is true. I have them. It's true. And they're made with top quality, 100% organic cotton. All their stuff is worth checking out. Blankets, throws, pillows, duvets. It's all best built to last. And the best part, everything's on sale right now. I use them. I love them. And remember, I don't have the problem that you go to sleep and miss how comfortable they are. I'm awake all night long, so I know how comfortable these sheets are. Plus, they've got a 30-night guarantee. So if you're not happy with it, you're covered. Zero risk. Give yourself and your loved ones the most extraordinary sleep with 25% off site-wide plus free shipping and extended returns during Boll & Branch's best sale of the year. Shop now at bollandbranch.com/Klavan with code Klavan. That's Boll & Branch, BOLLAND branch.com/KLAVAN Klavan. Code Klavan for 25% off. Exclusions apply. Chapter 1, Hell of a Town. So there's obviously big elections, and everybody's going to be covering them. And one thing you will notice, the media likes to read the tea leaves in every non-presidential election. And there's something fair about that in the sense that an election is like a market. The markets feed information to the traders, and the traders then react, and that affects the market. And the same thing kind of happens in politics. You do get some information. I'm going to address it because I have something to say that I haven't heard anybody else say, but I don't want to get mired in it forever, because for a lot of to me, a lot of these elections were so predictable that anything you say, so many media people just tell you that what I'm getting out of this is that the public wants exactly what I want. That's basically where they all come down. They all come down as the public wants. If they're conservative, the public wants more conservatism. If they're radical leftists, the public wants more radical leftism. So Virginia goes blue. Abigail Spanberger wins the governorship. Winsome Earl Sears was a terrible candidate. Trump didn't back her until later because she was not that nice to him. Spanberger, ran as a moderate. Let's see how moderate she'll be. I'm not that sure. But Virginia goes opposite to the last presidential election. Always. I think one time they didn't do that. So they always go opposite. Republicans win, they go Democrat. Democrats win, they go Republican. So it was really, really nice to have a Republican governor for a few years in there. It's made it really nice. But, the other thing about this is that, if you walk around Virginia, you can't help stumbling over an unemployed bureaucrat. All the people that got fired in the Elon Musk, attack on the government, they all live in Virginia. They're all disgruntled, whether they deserve to be fired or not. I personally am very much in favor of out-of-work bureaucrats. I think as many bureaucrats as possible should be out of work, but they don't like it, just because I'm for it. So, read into that what you will. We'll see what happens. I think it's a tragedy that Jay Jones won for AG after wishing people dead, but mostly because I think he'll bring chaos and more crime. That's bad. But again, not surprising. He kind of rode in on Spanberger's coattails. Same thing in New Jersey. The Democrat Mikey Sherrill. Everyone was predicting that the Republican might do better than in that, but the numbers always showed her ahead. I think that was just dreaming. And, Trump lost Jersey by 16%. So again, same thing with California's gerrymander law. I expect that to be challenged in court. It's probably already being challenged in court. But of course, they were going to win in a one-party state. So the big story is Mamdani. And it's a surprise in the sense that he broke all the rules. He's young. He has no experience. He's going to be doing what is sometimes thought of as the second hardest job in the country. And sometimes it's thought of as the first hardest job in the country, governing New York. He's like run a, 6 employees. He's suddenly going to be running thousands of employees. It's going to be insane. And unions, they want to get him down. And immediately he went into his speech, dumped all the kumbaya stuff and the moderate stuff, and immediately went full on socialist. Here is his speech, his victory speech, is cut one.
This will be an age where New Yorkers expect from their leaders a bold vision of what we will achieve, rather than a list of excuses for what we are too timid to attempt. Central to that vision will be the most ambitious agenda to tackle the cost of living crisis that this city has seen since the days of Fiorella LaGuardia. An agenda that will freeze the rents for more than 2 million rent-stabilized tenants. Make buses fast and free. And deliver universal child care across our city. Years from now, may our only regret be that this day took so long to come.
So, the reason it took so long to come is he's talking complete crap. And I mean, obviously, if you freeze the rents, people stop being landlords because they're not making any money. They stop building houses, and the home crunch gets worse and the prices go up. This happens every time. It's never happened any other way. It'll happen the same way this time. All that stuff about free this. Free is like the word dragon. It describes something that happens in your imagination but doesn't exist in real life. So, the people who pay for all this are very wealthy. They can leave town any way they want. You're not going to build a Berlin Wall around New York. Not going to happen. That's why they built the Berlin Walls, to keep people inside. People will leave, and there goes your tax base. And then how do you pay for this stuff? It's the one question that socialists, they're like bandits. They never ask where the money came from. They just want to steal it and move on. But you can't do that. Eventually, as Margaret Thatcher said, you run out of other people's money. Also, I'm always telling you this, that socialism is tyranny because it takes away your choice what to do with your money, which is your time. So that means your time now belongs to the government. So you are a slave. And I have to say, Mamdani, that's what he promised. He promised tyranny. This is cut 2.
This new age will be defined by a competence and a compassion that have too long been placed at odds with one another. We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about. For years, those in City Hall have only helped those who can help them. But on January 1st, we will usher in a city government that helps everyone.
So if there's nothing too large for government to handle or too small for it to be concerned about, where do you get your time where you're just doing you, where you have your own, you solve your own problems? Remember, the right to live as you choose is like a coin, and on the flip side of that coin is the responsibility not to turn to the government when what you choose leaves you broke or homeless or in jail or, addicted. Those are choices that you made, and now you have to go to people and get charity. And if you get charity, as I think you should get charity, I think there should be charity for people who blow their lives. It can't be taken from me. Then you're just stealing my money and I'll go away. But if you go to churches, then the churches become stronger, and that's what they've done. What the government has done in the past, well, let's see, since Roosevelt really, is what they've done is they have taken away your right to do as you please by taking away your responsibility to not go to the government. So now you don't have that responsibility, except you can't do as you please anymore because they can tell you what to do. That's why healthcare is so controlling, so that in Canada, they're just killing people at this point. They're just, it's a mercy killing. It's mercy to us because we can't afford your healthcare, so we're going to let you kill yourself. So Bill McGurn, a great columnist of the Wall Street Journal, he wrote a column about all this, but he pointed out one thing that I hadn't heard anybody else say. He says, it's telling that in the political realm, the champions of socialism always are looking for new and mostly unknown candidates. That's because the people who have put socialism into practice don't have successful records to which they can point. So this guy is Obama. Obama who hid his opinions, Obama who lied about things, who didn't vote on certain issues because they would tag him, who talked his way out of it, out of jams when people suddenly discovered what he really did believe, and who was popular as a human being because he's a charming guy and can be a charming guy, but was never popular in terms of his policies because every other Democrat in the country was voted out of office. It's a type. Young people fall for it. He talks about hope all the time. Hope, hope, hope. Well, you can hope all you want. He said, we're going to make the impossible possible. The thing about that is you can't do that. You can't make the impossible possible. Know why? It's impossible. So people are saying, well, this is going to encourage the left to go on and do more radicalism. It may well, but let's see, first of all, I think what we should do is keep from predicting what's going to happen, just hold our fire and let him do what he's going to do and see how it turns out. Because, of course, socialists never do take responsibility for their failures. It's always big business's fault or the heartless so-and-sos or whatever. But people can see that life gets worse. And they saw it under de Blasio and they just forgot. And it's very expensive in New York. And I'll talk about that in a minute because that doesn't matter. So, on the one hand, you have these young folks who fall for this routine all the time. Then you have the older white folks who are like the people in Martha's Vineyard who say, yes, there's nobody is illegal. No person is illegal. And then, Ron DeSantis sends his illegals to Martha's Vineyard. It's like, goodbye, go away now, please. They get rid of them, but they are very invested in having that image of themselves. So the big question, of course, all of these guys ran on anti-Trump rhetoric. And the big question is, was this an anti-Trump vote? Here's Mamdani in his speech, putting Trump's face. It's really weird. He paints Trump's face onto all his straw enemies. This is cut 3.
We will hold bad landlords to account because the Donald Trumps of our city have grown far too comfortable taking advantage of their tenants. We will put an end to the culture of corruption that has allowed billionaires like Trump to evade taxation and exploit tax breaks. We will stand alongside unions and expand labor protections because we know, just as Donald Trump does, that when working people have ironclad rights, the bosses who seek to extort them become very small indeed.
He left out the part when the bosses become very small indeed. the workers don't have any jobs because the bosses create the jobs. However, you notice what he did. Your landlord is Trump. Your employer is Trump. The billionaires are Trump. All the bad guys are Trump, Trump, Trump. It's like he's living in this Trump world. It's like a dream of a nightmare where everybody is not turned into Donald Trump. But Trump felt this. I feel like, before this happened, he was like, oh, if Mamdani wins, it'll be a gift to the Democrats. And that may turn out to be true in the long run. But he was not happy about this. He tweeted on Truth Social, Trump wasn't on the ballot and the shutdown were the two reasons that Republicans lost elections tonight. And he's now calling for the Congress to get rid of the filibuster, the fact that they need 60 votes to pass anything so that they can open the government again. Here's cut 11.
I think it's very important. We have to get the country open, and the way we're going to do it this afternoon is to terminate the filibuster. And it's possible you're not going to do that, and I'm going to go by your wishes. You're very smart people. We're good friends, but I think it's a tremendous mistake, really. It would be a tragic mistake, actually. It's time. It's time. If I thought they weren't going to approve, I'd sort of be with you. I'd be fine. I'd be neutral to with you. But knowing that they're going to pass it as soon as they get any semblance of control, they'll pass it first thing, then it's like we have to do it first. And we have 2 years, and we'll end up with 2-3 years, and we'll have this country so perfect. We will have passed more legislation than any Congress and any group of senators or a group of congressmen. And we will get it through. They'll send it to us. We'll send it to them. It'll be a beautiful machine.
So, what he's saying is the Democrats will get rid of the filibuster, so we should get rid of the filibuster. And other people are saying, no, if you get rid of the filibuster, you basically give the win to the Democrats, and their whole shutting down of the government was a good thing for them. So it's a risk, but he obviously felt this. And here's my feeling about this. Was this a referendum on Trump? And I haven't heard this anywhere else. I don't think you're going to hear this anywhere else. I believe that Donald Trump is doing something visionary. He's looking down the long road. And whether he's doing it by theory or he's doing it by instinct, I can't tell you. He seems a very instinctual politician, but he also seems to me to be a lot smarter than he plays on TV. And what I think he is trying to do is he's trying to get us into a position where we can either fight with China or let them do what they want with Taiwan and not worry about it. He said recently, we can outdo China on rare earth minerals in 18 months. That's what he's looking at. And he can't talk about it because he doesn't want to bring to China's attention what he's doing, even though I'm sure they already know. China is where all the lithium-ion batteries that use in electric vehicles and energy storage and electronics. China now accounts, I'm reading from the Wall Street Journal, now accounts for about 1/3 of the globe's mature semiconductor production capacity. These clips are still critical for industries including cars, consumer electronics, and defense, even though they're easier to produce than cutting-edge chips. A lot of these are from Taiwan and from factories run by the Taiwanese in China. Most of the acetaminophen and ibuprofen imported into the U.S. comes from China. These are the active ingredients in Tylenol and Advil, respectively. China is also a significant producer of antibiotic ingredients. The U.S. imports many branded drugs from Europe. But for generics, it relies heavily on India, and a significant amount of India's generics originate in China. So Trump is come into office and focused on the visionary idea that he can start to bring some of that production home, or at least into the realm of our friends rather than our enemies, the Chinese. And what that means is he hasn't prioritized cutting inflation. And the Bidenflation is still in place. Inflation is low, and it's stayed low in spite of all the panic at the Wall Street Journal that the tariffs would bring it up. But he hasn't cut it back. He hasn't brought prices down. And he even has said, to the Fed that they should cut the interest rates when really you want the interest rates to go up if you are going to cut inflation, even though that will hurt employment. So he's trying to keep everything steady. And as a result, the economics are kind of muddy. Hiring is not bad, but it's not good. Inflation is not big, but it's not going down. Prices are not going down. And these are the things that are hurting people. And the cost of living is the big thing that they ran on. So in other words, Trump is taking a chance with the short-term elections because this is it, his last term. But obviously he's going to run for a third, fourth, fifth, and sixth term. But it may well be that we see in 10, 15 years, even sooner than that when China, the dragon of China, finally turns on us and comes after us, that we're going to be in a much better position because of Donald Trump. And then is in his 6th term inauguration, he can make this speech as cut 5.
We're going to win so much. We're going to win at every level. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We're going to win economically. We're going to win with the economy. We're going to win with military. We're going to win with healthcare and for our veterans. We're going to win with every single facet.
Zippity-doo-dah, zippity-yay. My, oh my, what a wonderful day.
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. Yay! You'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore.
I feel pretty, oh so pretty. I feel pretty and witty and gay.
We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
We all know we should be eating more fruits and vegetables, but actually doing it, that's the hard part. And that's where Balance of Nature comes in. Balance of Nature's fruits and veggie supplements are the original way to get a balance of color, taste, and smell from whole foods in a convenient form. What makes them really versatile is that you can take them however works best for you. Swallow the capsules with water, chew them, or even open them up and mix the powder into your food or drinks. I do not know why you would do that. They're so easy to swallow, and you get everything you need. Inside each capsule, you'll find ingredients from 16 whole fruits and 15 whole vegetables that have been freeze-dried, lab-tested, with no binders, fillers, or flow agents, just pure whole food ingredients ready to go wherever you go. That's because Balance of Nature's supplement powders are made from 100% whole foods, delivering the natural goodness of fruits, vegetables, spices, and fibers just as nature intended. I take them. That's why I only look like I'm 110 instead of my real age, which is much, much higher. Go to balanceofnature.com and get a free fiber and spice supplement plus 35% off your first set as a new preferred customer by using the discount code Klavan. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, wow, that sounds great. But how? Tell me how. Do you spell Klavan? It's Klavan. Chapter 2, Schindler's Stupid List. The thing that I think is really important to take away from this election, especially the Mamdani election, but all of these elections of more or less radical people, is that the right has to learn how to make arguments. And sometimes we are so certain that we're right and so certain that reality will prove us right that we don't teach people what we have to teach them. And I think this is a really, really big problem. And it's a problem we are now having on the right specifically, because the left doesn't have to teach people anything because they lie to them. They lie. Have you ever noticed that Donald Trump tells you exactly what he thinks? You know, I mean, sometimes he'll blow things up. He has hyperbole, all that stuff, but he tells you exactly what he thinks. Whereas the left is always telling you, "Oh, I'm a moderate," even though they're far lefty. Every single time, they're all pretend to be moderates, or they do what Mamdani does and they basically disavow everything they said until they're elected, and then they turn back into themselves. So we're the ones who have to learn how to make arguments. One of my least favorite movies is Schindler's List. And Steven Spielberg, brilliant filmmaker with the sensibility of a child. Jaws, E.T., Close Encounters, Indiana Jones, absolute classics. But when it comes to serious movies, he was once called the best second unit director in history. The second unit guy is the guy who films all the action sequences, and he is as great a second unit director as has ever lived. But he's a child, and he has no ability to address serious issues. So if you watch Saving Private Ryan, the first half an hour is one of the most brilliant battle scenes ever filmed. The rest of it is like making excuses for World War II. Well, we have to fight this battle in order to fight this battle. You know, it's just one long didactic thing. And the idea that this kid who's lost all his brothers has to prove himself a good man is as stupid as anything. He's very uncomfortable with masculine, aggressive energy. If you notice, even in Indiana Jones, the first Indiana Jones doesn't get to fight the bad guys. God comes and fights them for him while he's tied to a pole. He's very, very wussy. I'm sorry. I'm saying you can't have a career in Hollywood by insulting Steven Spielberg. That's how powerful he is. So I wouldn't tell you this if I didn't have to. So Schindler's List is a beautifully made movie, very powerful, has scenes in it that make you cry, but it's put forward as the Holocaust movie. And what it's about is the story of a guy who saved 1,200 people, by hook and by crook. Very, very heroic thing to do. Very haunting that it's exactly the same number of Jews who were killed on October 7th, 1,200. But he puts it as if this was what the Holocaust was about. In Band of Brothers, a film he produced, a series he produced, he has an episode called Why We Fight. And the reason is they find the death camps, and that's why we fight. We didn't fight for that. Nobody fought for that. Nobody fought to save the Jews. No one. The Allies didn't do it. Nobody did it. And the papers, the journalists didn't cover it, and nobody wanted to know anything about it until it was over, and then you had the horror of it, and it had to be confronted. But that's a childish idea that people fight to save the Jews. And so the reason I hated Schindler's List is it marked the moment when the memory of the Holocaust died. And it wasn't Spielberg's fault that it died. It was just the fact that it died that made that movie possible. Because the movie posits this world in which people are fighting the Nazis. And that's not what happened. There were no good guys. There were no good guys in this regard. The industrial murder of Jews just went on. And I've told you what I thought about it spiritually. I thought it was a reenactment of the crucifixion. There was people who hated God, and they said they hated God. And I think if you want to know about the Holocaust, you don't watch Schindler's List, which is what Americans do. They watch the big movie and they think they know something. Watch a documentary series called Shoah, read Elie Wiesel's book Night, read Raoul Hilberg or Martin Gilbert's histories. Then you'll know something. But you won't do that, probably. Most people don't do it, and the general public won't. And they have forgotten. Memory fades. People, no matter what happens, no matter how bad it is, no matter how good it is, memory fades. And the grass grows over every grave. No matter who dies, the grass grows over his grave, and he is forgotten, all of us. Everything is forgotten eventually. So the Jews no longer know how to make an argument. They just become outraged because they remember in their blood what is outrageous about anti-Semitism, where it leads, what it means. Even they, because they don't have Jesus, don't really, I think, actually understand the motivation behind the hatred that just continues century after century, year after year. So just giving you an example, there's this foofara going on the right with Tucker Carlson and all of the Jew haters that he platforms. And people say to me, oh, well, he's not saying anything. Yes, Tucker is a canny man. He's a smart man. So he's not going down this kind of conspiracy theory craziness of Candace Owens, and he's not ugly like Fuentes. What he does is he has Candace and Fuentes on his show, and he sits there with this credulous look on his face, and he says things like this. He interviewed Fuentes, I think it was this week, and this is what Tucker says during this interview to this virulent Jew hater who has called for the exile and murder of American Jews and claims that the only reason he's being picked on is because he criticizes Israel. It's just crap. And Tucker sits there with this credulous look on his face that he didn't have when he was interviewing Ted Cruz, who was defending the Israelis. Then he went after him. So he only has this credulous look when he's dealing with the Jew haters. And this is a remark that Tucker made to Nick Fuentes, cut 8.
How do you explain Mike Huckabee, Ted Cruz, and there are a lot like that, John Bolton. I mean, I've known them all, George W. Bush, like Karl Rove. I mean, all people I know personally who I've seen like be seized by this brain virus, and they're not Jewish. Most of them are self-described Christians, and then the Christian Zionists who are, well, Christian Zionists. Like, what is that?
Right.
And I can just say for myself, I dislike them more than anybody, because like, what? Because it's Christian heresy, and I'm offended by that as a Christian.
Well, that's untrue. See, so much of what he says, as if it were obvious, is untrue. And it's infuriating, and especially, I think, to Jews who know where this leads or could lead. It's just infuriating. All of Israel will be saved. That is in Romans 11. All of Israel will be saved, and God has hardened their hearts for the moment to let the Christians come in and attach themselves to the vine of Israel. But ultimately, Christians and Jews will come together, and all of Israel will be saved. saved. It doesn't say, the Hittites are gone, the Babylonians are gone, the Romans are gone, the Nazis are gone, the Groypers, Nick Fuentes, and Tucker Carlson will be gone, but according to the Bible prophecy, the Jews will be saved and will be there in the end days. Okay, so all of this stuff that Tucker says is not true. Hamas is a political organization. It's not. It's a terrorist, cat's paw of Iran who would kill all of us. That Sharia law is a wonderful thing. That Nick Fuentes was picked on because he criticized Israel. It's not true that, Putin is not to blame for the Ukrainian war or that Putin is a good person. So anyway, he does this. I said it was last week, but it was the week before last. And then Kevin Roberts of the Heritage Foundation, a guy I like very much and a foundation I think is really, really important. He comes out unasked and defends Tucker Carlson's Cut 7.
We will always defend truth. We will always defend America. And we will always defend our friends against the slander of bad actors who serve someone else's agenda. That includes Tucker Carlson, who remains, and as I have said before, always will be a close friend of the Heritage Foundation. The venomous coalition attacking him are sowing division. Their attempt to cancel him will fail. Most importantly, the American people expect us to be focusing on our political adversaries on the left, not attacking our friends on the right. I disagree with, and even abhor, things that Nick Fuentes says. But canceling him is not the answer either. When we disagree with a person's thoughts and opinions, we challenge those ideas in debate. And we have seen success in this approach as we continue to dismantle the vile ideas of the left.
So the Jews are livid, and they're livid with good reason. All the facts are on their side. All the facts are on the side. Doesn't mean you can't criticize Israel. Doesn't mean you can't think it went too far. But the facts of what Tucker's doing, they're all on their side. And they're so outraged, they start going after Kevin. And Kevin is, look, I don't know him intimately, but we've talked a number of times. I like what he's doing with the Heritage Foundation. I like the way he aligned it with MAGA, but still kept to its core principles. We can't go around just destroying everybody in our path. But we have to make the arguments. Everybody has to make the arguments. I tell you what I think of Tucker. You've never heard me hold back on any of this stuff. And I don't agree with this false idea that in order to win, we have to let people who are hateful and awful into the party and not say anything about it. You win because you're right. You win because you're right. Most people in this country are kind of in the center. I think they can be center right more than center left, but we have to make the arguments, and we don't make the arguments. The same is true. I've tried to explain to you why I think what Tucker's doing is so bad and why I don't think he's just asking questions and why I don't think that he's, I think he's doing it intentionally. I've heard he's taken money from Qatar. I don't know why he's doing it. I do not know. I don't pretend to know. I just know that you can keep Tucker as a friend. I have friends who have ideas that I absolutely deplore. I have good friends who have ideas that I absolutely deplore. I tell them what I think. And sometimes if it's a public matter, I will say it publicly. Look, I love some of the people at the DailyWire, but I disagree with them, and I will say so when I do, and I'll say so when I think they're not doing the right thing. So outrage is not an argument. And the thing is, the holiday, when I was a young man, I wrote a book in which I called the Jews holiday Jews. And what I meant by that was the shame and the horror at the Holocaust made it outlawed, morally outlawed, to attack the Jews. Now with Schindler's List, that marked the end of that period. The holiday is over. The holiday is over. You have the right to stand up for yourself. You have the right to make your argument, but outrage is not going to do it anymore. You've got to make the argument. Speak to people as if they need to know, because we have a generation schooled in ignorance. And this goes for, while I'm talking about it, this goes for capitalism as well. Capitalism does work better than any other economic system because it's not an economic system. It's just people engaging in free trade. But it's spiritually empty as a philosophy. The Ayn Rand of it all, where capitalism is the whole thing, a dollar bill sign is going to replace the cross. It's garbage. It is garbage. And so you have to explain what capitalism is and what it isn't. And if you tell people, the factory left out of town and now nobody in your town has a job and you have to move, well, you got to move. That's capital. You got to move. No, people live, around the graveyard of their parents. They don't move. This is how communities are formed. If you don't have communities, conservatism will not exist. Conservatism is a communal thing that we do because we feel responsible to the people around us. If you don't want the government to be giving people charity by force, by stealing it from other people, you have to give it to the people around you because you know who they are. It has to be like the end of It's a Wonderful Life, where the neighbors show up because they know who you are. That is the way a free country operates, and that's what we've lost in the years since FDR. When the government takes over all those functions, we become less free. And if you're going to argue that we have to get rid of those things, we have to get rid of welfare, you have to have a way of arguing for voluntary welfare where people do get taken care of, because people have to have the courage to live free, because living free comes with tremendous risks. So these are the arguments we have to make. And this is one of the reasons I talk about the culture, because the culture is one of the places where we see what's happening, we see what the culture is, and we can address it. We can then address what the culture is doing. And conservatives are so bad at that, and I will explain that in just a second. The holidays are coming, which means your calendar is probably packed with hosting duties, shopping lists, and endless to-dos. When life gets this hectic, sleep often takes a back seat, but that's exactly when you need it most. Quality rest is what keeps you energized for holiday prep, helps you stay patient with family and lets you actually enjoy the season instead of just surviving it. Here's the truth. If your mattress isn't giving you the deep, comfortable sleep your body craves, you're starting every busy day at a disadvantage. That's where Helix comes in. Finding the right mattress doesn't have to be guesswork. Helix makes it simple with their sleep quiz. It asks about your preferences and sleep style, then matches you with the mattress that's actually right for you. And they're not just making promises. Helix is the most awarded mattress brand out there, with glowing reviews from Forbes, Wired, and other trusted experts. And the best part, they deliver straight to your door with free shipping, so no hauling anything yourself. Plus, with their Happy with Helix guarantee, you get 120 nights to try it out and a limited lifetime warranty. If it's not working for you, returns and exchanges are totally seamless. It's basically a risk-free way to finally get the sleep you deserve, especially when you need it most. And listen, I don't want you to do this on faith, because I lie awake all night. I never sleep. So I know how comfortable these mattresses are. I have one, and I lie awake all night thinking, wow, I can't sleep, but I'm really, really comfortable. So go to helixsleep.com/Klavan for 27% off site-wide. That's helixsleep.com/Klavan for 27% off site-wide. Make sure you enter our show name into the post-purchase survey so they know we sent you, helixsleep.com/Klavan. But you know what that means, don't you? You have to learn, you have to study, you have to work to find out how to spell Klavan. No E's in Klavan. I just make it look that easy. I'll let you figure the rest out for yourself. Chapter 3, The Golden Bowl. So an artist sculpted a toilet out of 223 pounds of gold. It's valued at about $10 million in gold. It's gold. And Sotheby's is betting it can auction off the Golden Bowl for even more. The 18-karat toilet was created by Maurizio Catalan, the same artist who made the duct tape banana. Remember the banana duct tape on the wall? That sold for $6.2 million to a cryptocurrency entrepreneur who gave a press conference and then ate the banana. Okay. So a golden bowl, a golden toilet, harkens back to one of the first of the really shatteringly modern sculptors, which was Fountain by Marcel Duchamp, which was a urinal. And Duchamp said it showed how everyday objects are raised to the dignity of a work of art by the artist's act of choice. Now, a golden toilet is exactly what this art is. It's worth a lot of money, but it's just a container for crap, right? That's what it is. But the reason that it is art, and it is art, is that it represents this culture that we're living in. Great wealth, good health, great comfort, and our souls are empty and full of crap. Is there anybody who looks around and sees that that's not true? When you see the women I was making fun of in the opening showing up at galas and at fundraisers wearing absolutely nothing, and the press goes, oh, how shocking, Sydney Sweeney is wearing a see-through blouse. Is anybody shocked to see Sydney Sweeney wearing a see-through blouse? I mean, that's what I was satirizing in the beginning. I'd be shocked if a woman showed up fully dressed. You know, that would think, oh my God, an actress who respects herself. I can't take that in. So conservatives are always railing against art like this, because it is bad. It's not beautiful. It doesn't touch you. It doesn't do anything but sort of give the artist this ironic distance from the culture that is collapsing around us, that is becoming awful and empty around us. But it is an act of capitalism. It is what capitalism is. It's a golden toilet empty of value. That's what capitalism is. We want the gold. I want the free trade. I want the wealth that comes along with all of that. But it doesn't work unless you have spirit in it, right? So when you see a work of art like a golden toilet, you can deplore it. You can deplore it all you want. And in a sense, I do deplore it, but you have to react to it. The thing that art does is it tells you what's going on. It's information, just like a market is information. A golden toilet going for millions and millions of dollars as a work of art tells you exactly the state that our culture is in, okay? Now, it's like if you're standing around one day and your spouse comes up to you and says, listen, I don't love you anymore, okay? And you had no idea, right? That changes your whole life. Your whole life is now different. The thing that you were depending on, the thing that you were resting in, the thing that you were hoping to grow in, suddenly doesn't exist anymore. You have a lot of different choices that you will make to react to that piece of information. You might try to win your spouse back. You might reform your life and stop watching so much because your spouse wants you back. Maybe you'd leave and look for love elsewhere, but you wouldn't just sit there and say, oh, well, that's, I guess my spouse doesn't love me anymore, on back to work. You wouldn't do that, right? So when a culture tells you what it's doing, believe it. And that means you have to start doing something about the culture, about what is happening. And part of this is how you live. If you live in a golden toilet, you will get golden toilet art and you will get a golden toilet culture. If you think that capitalism must be defended from every angle, that it can't in any way be restricted, that people just have to get used to it when big companies screw them over and dump their jobs, you're going to get Soren Mamdani, because it's empty. And young people are looking for something. They're looking for meaning, like everybody's looking for meaning, and they want to find it in the life around them as well as within themselves. So the question that I want to know is when people tell me that we're not supposed to criticize, Tucker Carlson. We're not supposed to have arguments on the left, on the right. We're not supposed to say, oh, this guy is actually not one of them. What I want to know is, what do we believe? What do we believe that has meaning, that has decency, that has some kind of interest for people that they're going to want to be on our side? This is the thing. If you believe that capitalism is going to solve all your problems and you just have to do whatever makes you money and that's going to be the best thing and everything's going to be great, what is it? Ayn Rand said the New York skyline was the greatest work of art of all time, and the dollar signs, you wear dollar signs instead of a cross. I'm sorry, you wind up with a golden toilet and you wind up in a golden toilet and you wind up with Zohar Mamdani. If you believe that Christianity is a club for you to use to pummel the people who don't believe what you believe, if you believe that Christianity is just a catechism and if you don't fill out the form, the short answer form's wrong, you're going to hell, and so you can scream at the person next to you because he doesn't have the same catechism as you do. If that's what you believe, then your Christianity is a golden toilet. That's an empty vessel, and it may get you likes, it may get you give you a community, but it's not going to be the kind of meaning that invites people in to meet Jesus Christ, which is what you're trying to do, what you want to do. What do we believe, right? If you believe that the Jews or the blacks or the whites or the women or the men or whatever is the problem, that's just a way of deflecting the question of who you are. Are they a problem because they are stopping you from achieving what you should achieve? Or are they a problem because you don't know what the hell you can achieve and you're not willing to risk it and you don't know what you believe anyway? So, I truly believe that looking into the culture, looking into art, gives you the information. I have predicted things at this very place, the Daily Wire, when all the political experts around me were wrong. I got it right again and again and again, more times than can be accounted for by chance. And the reason for that is I'm looking at the culture. I'm not looking at the polls. I'm not looking at the politicians. I'm not looking at this one or that one, although some of that is important. I do look at some of it, but I'm not like studying every, little glitch in the polls because I don't care what the polls say. I can see what the culture is doing and I can see what it is because I'm paying attention to the culture. And so that's what I want to talk about at the end. I want to talk about some of the things, Politics is just a means. It's just a means to create the situation in which we can do the things that give life meaning. Capitalism is just a means by which we can have the prosperity and peace in which we can look for the things that we want to do. But you can't do any of that stuff if you don't know what it is. So let's take a look at just a little bit at some of the cultural things that I've seen that point me in a direction that I think we should start to go. So things are pretty crazy out there. It's no wonder people are focused on protecting their financial future. One option you might not have considered recently is life insurance. It gets significantly more expensive as you age. The difference is dramatic. What you pay in your 20s or 30s could easily double by your 40s. That's why it may be time for you to look into SelectQuote. Life insurance doesn't have to be complicated. SelectQuote has been helping people like you for over 40 years, finding the right coverage at the best price from top-rated companies. Here's how it works. Their licensed agents do all the heavy lifting. They'll compare plans that fit your health, lifestyle, and budget completely free. You could even get coverage the same day, up to $2 million worth, with no medical exam required. If you've got pre-existing conditions like diabetes or high blood pressure, that's not a problem. SelectQuote works with companies that cover people with health conditions. Just head to SelectQuote.com and an agent will call you with options tailored specifically for you. They shop, you save. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. Get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at SelectQuote.com/Klavan. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at SelectQuote.com/Klavan today to get started. That's SelectQuote.com/ how do you spell it? Sing it. Klavan.
There are no easy credit.
Final chapter, The Way Home. So I've quoted often this John Keats line from Ode to a Grecian Urn, which is beauty is truth and truth is beauty. And in the poem, you don't know whether it's Keats speaking and telling you something he believes, or whether it's the urn, the Grecian urn that he's looking at, a work of art. But he said it in his letters that what is beauty must be truth. And obviously what he means by that is not prettiness. He doesn't mean, oh, this is pretty, so it must be true. He means that beauty is a thing that connects you to something beyond itself. That's what he's saying. That beauty, the reason you experience beauty, the reason you experience something as beautiful is because it's connecting you to something more important than itself. So I was thinking to myself, as I'm reading about this golden toilet, I'm thinking, okay, what have I seen that's beautiful? What have I seen recently or read that is beautiful? And not bloody much. I mean, as I've said a lot, this is a real flat-lined culture that we're living in because the ideas of the left are anti-human and they've been in charge of the culture and the right has done nothing about it. So I thought, what have I seen that I really liked? Not that I liked, but just that was beautiful. And one thing that I saw was Nosferatu, which was, I guess it was last year. It's a remake of the old vampire film that is stolen essentially from Bram Stoker's Dracula. It was an 1897 silent film. Then it was remade in 1922. It was remade more recently than that, but Robert Eggers, who is a very talented visual director, makes this thing. I'll just show you a little bit of the trailer, although I know most people are listening and they can't see it, but I'll play a little bit of the trailer.
It is like a dream. It was our wedding. When we turned around, everyone was dead. The stench of their bodies was horrible. Standing before me was death. But I'd never been so happy.
I've never been so happy. But he was dead, the bodies, the stench of death, but I was so happy. The visuals on this film are so beautiful. I saw it in a theater and I was sitting there going, I am so glad I came to this theater because they were just gorgeous. And what they were was Gothic. So you had forests, a castle on a hill, imitations of Caspar David Friedrich, a famous German romantic painter, and just really gave you this sense of darkness and fear. And then the picture falls apart because Eggers is looking for God in most of his films, but can't quite find him. And because he wouldn't embrace the logic of God, the picture stops making sense. About a third of the way through, I thought, this picture is going to fall apart in the last third because he doesn't have the God that is going to make the movie make sense. And it did. It fell apart. But it was so beautiful to look at. And this is, the Gothic represents something that used to be called the sublime. Edmund Burke wrote about this, and he was referring, a lot of what he was referring to was in Wordsworth, the way nature can make you feel terrified. He says, whatever is fitted in any sort to excite the ideas of pain and danger, that is to say, whatever is in any sort terrible or is conversant about terrible objects or operates in a manner analogous to terror, is a source of the sublime. That is, it is productive of the strongest emotion which the mind is capable of feeling. I say the strongest emotion because I am satisfied the ideas of pain are much more powerful than those which enter on the part of pleasure. Why are we making horror movie after horror movie after horror movie and virtually nothing else? It's because if you ask men why they like horror movies, bloody movies, they'll say, because it makes me feel something, because they're dead inside, because they have been taught that their manhood is worthless and that the thing that they want most, which is a wife to make a home for them, is not available to them and should not be available to them. And so the reason that nature can overwhelm you with fear when it's dark and when it's looming over you is not because you think a mountain is going to fall on you when it looms over you, or you think the trees are going to turn into witches' fingers. It's because you sense something behind nature, right? This is why, some people say that, nature is not a Christian concept. And that's true if nature is a closed system. But if nature has something behind it, then it becomes creation. And it speaks the glory of God. It speaks the glory of its creator. And that's why we watch ghost stories. Why are ghosts scary? They can't hurt you. They're transparent. They move right through you. But it's something that you see at the corner of your eye that tells you that this world is a scrim. If you know what a scrim is in theater, a scrim is a painted screen that if they illuminate it from behind, it shows what's behind it. So it's actually transparent. And nature is a scrim that has something behind it, which is spirit. And that spirit, when it touches you, makes you afraid. And that's what Nosferatu is getting at. It is touching that thing that it was there in the original Bram Stoker's Dracula. Eggers cannot bring it out because he's a modern man, a postmodern man, and he can't reach it, but it's still there and we can still feel it. The other work of art that struck me as beautiful was Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is a video game, and I'll just show you a little bit of that. This is cut 10.
You should never have come. You're only going to make things worse for everyone.
No. She chose to come. I didn't make the rules between you two.
You're fighting to change things.
For those who come after. Right?
I thought I was used to losing people.
Yeah, me too.
The imagery in this is not the most beautiful I've ever seen in a video game, but it's very imaginative, and the sensibility gives it an underlying beauty that really brings it to life. Each year in this place that they're living in that we don't really know what it is, people pass away, people die and turn into roses, and the place is always strewn with roses, always strewn with the dead, and they're always kind of living in this weirdly empty place, but there are monsters there, and they're supposed to go out and somehow find what they call the paintress who has created this system that they're in without knowing why. So they're looking for the creator of a world in which there's death and pain and sorrow and monsters and suffering, but they can't understand it. And I don't want to give away the ending. It has a quietly horrifying ending. You get a choice, but whichever choice you make, it has a horrifying ending. But I want to give the theme. What it says is that art can be a great source connecting us to creation. But if you live in the art, if art becomes the final destination, if art becomes a closed system instead of connecting you to something greater than yourself, then the art is dead and you are dead within the art. I think that that's a fair way to say. So this is a video game saying to you, if you are playing this video game to play this video game and sitting here stoned out of your mind or not, 6 hours not going out to see the sunlight, no, that's not it. It's supposed to connect you. So this is the thing that we have lost in dealing with the arts, is that the arts now think that they are for themselves, art for art's sake, right? And so the artist becomes this figure of like sort of a prophet-like figure who's it's important. I made a golden toilet. Aren't I impish? Aren't I, ironic? Aren't I above the culture? Instead of looking at this work of art and thinking, how does this connect me to something greater than itself? And a golden toilet does not. It keeps you in that loop of the culture. What we're looking for now is we're looking for art that sets you free to something beyond itself, which is what happens when you read great novels, which is what, I could use this as a time to plug my book, After That, the Dark, but I already did that, so I won't. But go ahead and buy it because the Cameron Winter Mysteries are doing something really original with the mystery and crime genre. Now I've done it, but I won't do it anymore. But what art is supposed to do is to connect you with something beyond itself. Nature is supposed to connect you to something beyond itself. You are always trying to get through to that creature. Religion is supposed to connect you to something beyond itself. You are not there. You are not there for the rites and the rituals. The rites and the rituals are supposed to hook you into a spirit. All of these things are about relationships. That is the key thing that we are moving beyond. If you are talking, someone said to me the other day, I would rather talk to artificial intelligence than to a person because artificial intelligence actually knows more about the things that interest me, because he was a very bright guy. And I thought, if that's why you want to talk to artificial intelligence, you don't know what conversation is. Conversation is not a way of getting knowledge. It's a way of connecting. All of this is a way of connecting. I still love my wife when I'm not with my wife, but I can't live my love for her unless I'm with her. I can feel for my children. I do feel for my children, but I live my love for my children when I'm communicating with them, which is why I'm so opposed to divorce. You can be a parent and say, oh, I love my kids, but if your kids can't smell you, you're not there. You can go to church all you want. And I've seen people go to church who are the most small-minded, wicked, nasty, judgmental people I have met. And yet I know so many people who go to church and it illuminates them, and it lights them from within because they're using it to connect with something. I mean, this is the great line from Passage to India: connect, only connect. So I believe in this connection. I believe in all of us connecting with one another. And I believe in order to do that fully, completely, with full knowledge, it has to be a choice. You have to be free. Everything I care about, the only political opinion I really have is that people should be free. And the more government is there, the more it does for you, the less free you are. The more you have the Zohar Mamdanis, the less free you are. If you're afraid of fascism is, all this stuff is going to end our democracy. I don't care about democracy. I care about freedom. It is possible to be more free in a monarchy than in a democracy when the democracy is going bad. But the best machinery of freedom we've ever invented is right there in the Constitution, if the Constitution is obeyed and if we don't let the government go beyond the powers in the Constitution, which is what we've done. So that's politically all I'm fighting for, all I care about. I do not care about this policy or that policy. I simply care about keeping the government away from my life and your life and all of our lives. That's a thing to believe in. That is a thing to believe in. And we can argue all of the things inside that, inside the working of liberty. But we can't go beyond that, and we cannot live in hatred, because hatred enslaves you just like every other vice. Just like every other vice, they all enslave you. The porn, the drinking, the promiscuity, they all will make you a slave. And the same is true of hatred, whether you're hating the blacks or the Jews or the Christians or the whites. It doesn't matter. It does not matter who you're hating. You will become a slave. That's what I'm trying to get at. That's why I think beauty is so important. That's why I think the arts are so important. They connect you to other things. Why church is so important. Why marriage is so important. It's all about that connection, that communion that leads to creation from creation. That's where we're going. If we don't go there, if we're busy with with nothings like Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes, we're going to lose everything to the Zorro Mondanis. I do not care whether a left boot or a right boot is on my neck. I want to be free, and I want you to be free as well. So I eat some fish at least every week. I used to fish all the time. I used to fish almost every day. I love fresh fish, and I especially love fresh Alaskan fish because when you catch them up there, they're just so tasty. It's just hard to describe, but you can get them without the trip. That's where Wild Alaskan Company comes in. They deliver the best wild-caught seafood straight to your home. Each portion is perfectly sized in 6-ounce portions and packed with nutrients you won't find in regular store-bought fish. Once you taste the difference, you won't go back. Their fish is 100% wild-caught, never farmed, which means you're getting pure seafood with no antibiotics, GMOs, or additives. These pristine fish support both healthy oceans and fishing communities while delivering exceptional flavor. I eat a little fish all the time, every week at least. This is really good stuff. Plus, each catch is flash frozen right on the boat to preserve its natural taste, texture, and beneficial omega-3s. When you join Wild Alaskan Company, you're not just getting extraordinary seafood, you're supporting sustainable harvesting practices in Alaska while enjoying flexible deliveries and expert cooking guidance that makes every meal special. Not all fish are the same. Get seafood you can trust. Go to wildalaskan.com/Klavan for $35 off your first box of premium wild-caught seafood. That's wildalaskan.com/Klavan for $35 off your first order. Thanks to Wild Alaskan Company for sponsoring this episode, and thanks for all the fish. You know, this may be shocking for some people to hear, but at the Daily Wire, we don't always agree with each other. Friendly Fire is the show where Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles, and I get together to disagree live for the entire internet to see and comment on. What could possibly go wrong? A new episode of Friendly Fire premieres in 2 weeks on Daily Wire Plus, and this time we'll also world premiere the official trailer for the Pendragon Cycle, The Rise of the Merlin, only on Friendly Fire, November 19th, 7 p.m. Eastern on Daily Wire Plus. Klavan Klapbacks.
It's up to you, New York, New York.
Yeah, he's rolling over in his grave. Klavan Klapbacks, Klavan with a K, Klapbacks with a K at dailywire.com. Ask me whatever you like. We only have a little time for these today, but I'll try to do more next week. So send me all your questions and I will try to answer them. And let me remind you once again that I will be at the Mysterious Bookshop on November 11th at 6 p.m. signing books. It's 58 Warren Street, and we'll try to have some conversation there as well. The last one was just great, and I hope this one will be great as well. From Nick, he says, hello, my name is Nick. I'm currently reading my way through your book, The Kingdom of Cain. Enjoying it so far, really enjoying it so far. While I was reading through chapter 4, I read the line of yours that says, without Christ, there is only the man, sometimes called the Divine Marquis. That's the Marquis de Sade. I think the Marquis de Sade was an antichrist, considering how it influenced later thinkers. I can't help but think about all those he deceived into justifying every evil desire they have. It just seems like the slimy handiwork of the enemy to me. I'd like to hear your opinion on that conclusion. Yeah, the thing that I like about the Marquis de Sade, and the thing that makes me think he was not the Antichrist, was he was completely honest. He was completely honest. He said, without God, it's all about power and pleasure, and I get power torturing, I get pleasure torturing people, and so we should all torture each other because that's what nature does. So, he was very honest about the absolute ramifications of atheism, and he is the reason I was reading him when I thought, oh yeah, this is atheism. This is the only honest atheism I've ever seen, and so I reject it. So, I think that he is the Antichrist and that everything he believes is Antichrist, but he's not the Antichrist because he's totally honest about it. I think the Antichrist is going to look a lot more like some of the charming politicians that we won't name who offer you, peace and wealth and equality and all the things that you want, and basically tells you he's going to make you a good person because he will make society so good that you'll just be naturally good. Those are the guys who I think are the guys we have to worry about. And I think that the whole thing about the Marquis de Sade is that his vision was expressed in the French Revolution: the bloodshed, the hatred, the revenge, the anti-forgiveness, the anti-grace. And we've already seen what that looks like, and we're going to see it again if the revolutionaries come back. I got to stop there, and it is time for Member Block. In order to become a member, go to dailywire.com/subscribe and use code Klavan at checkout for 2 months free on all annual plans. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe and use code Klavan at checkout. If you haven't done that, you are now about to be plunged like a person falling through a trap door into the darkness of Klavanlessness, which will last and last. It will seem forever. Even if it isn't forever, it will seem forever. So I don't know what the difference would be. If you are a member, come to Member Block.